Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 12th, 2017 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in action, which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all of the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Before we sit down, I'd just like to have, one more brief moment of silence for the victims of Hurricane Irma and Harvey. We pray for all those affected by these terrible storms and pray for our first responders and volunteers. The outpouring support from around the country is amazing, and now is the time to rebuild. Thank you. Thank you. All right, if the clerk could call the roll, please.
Mr. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Ms. Winterfield? Here. Mayor Florence Lynch?
Here. All right, we don't have any formal presentations for this evening, so I am going to go right into reports from volunteers. Are there any volunteers in the audience that would like to come up and report on anything? No one? Okay. Next, we'll go into public comment. The public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes, and there will be an additional period for public comment later in the meeting. And individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized and come to the microphone. Provide your name and address for the record. Anyone in the audience? Yes, come forward.
Big crowd is coming.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Mayor. Jackie Espinoza, Jersey Central Power and Light, 56 Hampton House Road in Newton. That's where my office is. But I just want to take a moment to introduce myself because I will be taking over for Addie Cologne. She has moved on to hopefully greener pastures, and I will be the contact for the township. I already sat down, met with David last week. We exchanged contact information. So I will serve in the same capacity as Addie did, and just being, the person that you can call at Jersey Central Power and Light. And we did send crews down to Florida to assist with Irma. A few crews from the Boonton District, which you guys are served out of, and they're stationed there right now. They arrived today.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate it, you being here. And,
yes. Well, thank you. I look forward to working with everybody. Hopefully everything will go smooth during the winter.
I'm sure you've been busy.
Do you have a business card? Or?
Yes, I do. I have plenty.
Yeah, that would be great.
If we have them, we won't need them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can just give them to the clerk and she'll pass them down. All right, anyone else? I know a bunch of people came in while we were talking. This is the public comment portion of the meeting. If anyone else would like to address the council, please just raise your hand, wait to be recognized, and come to the podium and give your name and address for the record, please.
Ed Reeds.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Ed Reeds.
Address?
Address.
1 West Parkway.
Okay.
So I'm Ed Reitz. I'm speaking on behalf of Pequannock Crunch. As probably most of you know by now, Crunch is a town travel organization made up of youth softball players anywhere from 8 years old to 14 years old. So this organization exists out of necessity in order to offer the youth girls of this town the same opportunity that it offers its boys, right? A chance to play, practice softball, baseball from May to April at a reasonable price. The organization is 100% volunteer, no salary positions, and is comprised of the middle school coaches, the high school coaches, teachers, Board of Ed members, pretty much a large sample size of the community. Out of 70 players that make up the organization, 69 are township residents. So the program is trained and supported the Pequannock Youth Softball, as it makes up the majority of the PVMS softball team and the Little League All-Star teams. So why am I here? I'm here tonight to talk up to the board asking to amend or modify or consider other options to Ordinance 2014-20, Chapter 129, Section 129.05. As we are from town, we're keenly aware of the reasons why this ordinance was instituted. We're also aware that club organizations from other towns, clubs from this town, and/or salaried nonprofit organizations that were using these resources and making money or salary off of town assets and leaving the fields in worse condition than how they found them. We also realize the needs to have some sort of organized solution to booking these fields and controlling their usage to not allow single organizations to monopolize the resources. So I believe the primary goal of the park, in general, is to support recreation activities of its town residents instead of privatizing town facilities. So we're also aware that there's a clause for nonprofit organizations that demonstrate that they are such and to use the resources at a reduced rate. However, perhaps the unintended result of this ordinance is to financially burden smaller volunteer groups. There's no provision for that in the ordinance. Right? So, in order to get the nonprofit status, you have to hire an attorney, have to hire an accountant, file the paperwork. According to some research, it takes about 9 months to get through the Fed to get the right process completed. And you have to maintain that. And an organization of this size, we're 70 now, we were 12 at some point. So to financially burden a group of 12 kids that want to play town travel softball, it becomes a burden financially. Right? So these certain other nonprofit groups charge $2,000 to $3,000 a player. So really what that allows them to do is, take that money and amortize it over, 4, 5, 6 teams, $50,000, $60,000. The cost of renting the fields at a nonprofit rate is a wash. They're able to monopolize the fields and use them at will, essentially defeating the ordinance's purpose in the first place, and again, monopolizing the fields. Right? So we've sought assistance from Little League and Boys and Girls Club, Parks and Rec, and are trying to find a solution that offers, that allows us to offer the same opportunities for the girls that it affords the boys. Playing in the fall, the boys have opportunities here in town through Little League and town travel and so on. So we'd like to do the same for the girls, and have been for the last 5 years. So at a time when we're looking for programs and spending $100,000 on things like skate parks, this program of 70 girls keeps them engaged all year round. It doesn't cost anything. The fields are already there. All we're looking for is the right to use them at an affordable price. Right? So over the last 5 years, the cost of this program was about $95 a year. In order to allow them just to play the games and practice 1 or 2 times, we got to raise the cost by $75 per player, which is a significant issue for percentage-wise for a cost of a program that costs $95, but maybe not so significant if your cost is $2,000 and you're from out of town. So, I talked about a model. Other towns such as Lincoln Park, Jefferson, Montville, they do not charge their town travel teams. They allow them to use the resources. They have to show the burden of proof of being in from town. And one of the things about town travel, in general, the rules are 2 kids from each team cannot be out of town. Clearly, we're not even close to that. We're 1 out of 70. And the only reason why the 1 out of 70 is to be able for us to offer the program to the older children. Otherwise, there's not enough kids as they get older. So what we're here to do is to shed the light on this and see if there's anything the council will be willing to consider to amend the problem.
So Ed, how long has Crunch been around for?
I've been doing it for 5 years, but it has been around, I would say, maybe 12.
Has this ever come up in the past? Has there ever been an issue like this?
Well, this ordinance was only instituted 2 years ago. So prior to 2 years ago, the fields were free.
An issue.
Right? So then it became an issue because Lincoln Park was grabbing the fields and other people were grabbing the fields. And then these for-profit or for-salary nonprofit organizations were charging large sum of money and the town was seeing none of it. And quite frankly, the Little League coaches were cleaning up after them. And so we certainly understand the need for control.
So the issue is to get the lesser expensive rates, you have to be a nonprofit organization.
Correct. There is nothing that talks about volunteer groups.
Now, when you looked into it, what's involved? You said there's lawyers, there's fees.
In order to qualify, I spoke to Pastor Kathleen, who's intimate with this process, is you have to have a charter, you got to go see a lawyer, you have to apply to the Fed, incorporate the nonprofit, and so on and so forth, like most of these nonprofits in town. And then you have to file with the state. So the state isn't so bad, right? But the Fed takes a while. But the larger issue is that, we're 70 now. In a couple years, we may down to go 30. So you get down to 30, and you say you have to bring in an outside accountant to file the paperwork appropriately, so there's no risk to anyone specifically. And then the costs just go way back up per person again. So that's kind of the issue. When we started out as 12, we were able to get on the fields, and no one really paid much attention to us. It was okay. Now that we have 70 kids that feed the middle school, feed the high school, or all the all-star teams.
How many fields at 70 now do you need to?
We have 6 teams. This particular season is a 12-game season, so half at home, half away. Without practice.
One practice a week?
We try to practice once a week. We are designed for multi-sport kids, so that the kids that can't join the club teams because they want to play soccer and softball, they would not be able to play soccer and softball. They'd have to pick. So we're trying to encourage the kids to play both sports, right? And so that's why the numbers have grown.
Do you talk to other people about getting under their charter or their...
I have spoke to the Boys and Girls Club. I talked to Parks and Rec. I talked to Pastor Kathleen. Talked to Little League.
Is it an issue of time or is...
No, well, the issue is fitting within the particular charter scope. So Pastor Kathleen is faith-based, right? According to Little League, they are athletic but Little League based. There are no Little League teams, right? In softball, it's very specific time frame, right? So in order to support that activity, you have to play other groups, right? So and then kids don't play, then they don't play Little League anymore.
So it's under a 501c or some kind of nonprofit, you're finding you're not finding a hard time with people that would possibly sponsor you. It's just you're finding a hard time to find that niche to go under the correct one.
No, we can't find anybody to sponsor us. We'd have to go and
they have to be under
do it ourselves.
Softball? I'm just trying to understand.
Well, like for instance, Pastor Kathleen says she wouldn't be able to help us because their charter was faith-based. Little League says they can't help us because if they start working with non-Little League teams, it voids their charter.
Non-Little League towns, I believe it is.
Towns, correct.
Right.
And that's why a lot of...
If the Crunch plays Roxbury and Roxbury doesn't have Little League, they can't fall under the Little League nonprofit because Roxbury doesn't have Little League.
Meaning the town of Roxbury?
Town of Roxbury.
Correct. And I can't speak for the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
I just can't.
So
And it couldn't be a Parks and Rec program?
What can we do?
It can be. I had offered. This program essentially runs itself. Like I said, the only thing needed
Our soccer.
is fields.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need
Is there
lights
any
on
objection to being part of Parks and Rec?
I guess it would depend what that means.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that would mean.
We're not sure either.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, we have a tremendous...
I will say this, and I was going to... There should be a town travel Pequannock team. You have Patriots. You have all these other small groups that form out to do the same thing that's being done right now. We have 6 teams. There's 2 here, 1 there.
Right. I don't think you're going to get an argument from us. I think what we need to do is find a solution to this.
Correct.
How do we figure it out?
Right. And how do we figure it out? And
How do we fix the ordinance?
right. can we amend the ordinance, and, how do we define what you really are? And, I know why we did it, because we were fighting over our fields.
I understand.
We said, you know what, enough's enough, we're going to fix this. And sometimes when you fix things, you don't realize what the consequences are going to be, and we're seeing the consequences now. They would have to take a very close look at it and give us a recommendation on how to solve this problem, because we're not going to solve it tonight. We're not going to be able to say, we're not going to be able to say, oh yeah, you know what, tomorrow you can go use the fields. But we will look into it, and we'll try to figure it out, because this is a great organization that you have here, and it's good for our town, it's good for our girls. I mean, it's that simple.
And like I said, it's almost 100% Pequannock residents, too.
Right, we will find a solution. I promise you we will find a solution. We will lean on our township manager and say, hey,
poor guy. But how do we?
We need to figure it out.
Yes, we're going to fix the ordinance, but how can we figure out something so they can?
It has to be a town organization that is deemed, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be a way of defining what we mean by nonprofit.
We're going to give
that it may not be an IRS designation. We may have to come up with our own way of defining.
Right. You give us a list of your girls. We're going to cross-match their addresses to make sure they're really township residents.
Right.
But, I mean, that doesn't solve the problem today, right?
No, sorry. We're not going to solve it today.
No, we're not going to solve it.
How much did you pay for fields so far, Ed?
We paid $1,600.
And is that?
And we've had to go to other towns to play now, so we cancel practices and.
Is that for the whole season?
Sorry?
Is that for practice, games?
That is, well, we booked the fields for games. The primary goal is games. And we're trying to save those spots, so, because it's self-schedule. So you need to call all these other groups at the end of August and coordinate. So you need to have a facility to play at, your home games. So, we booked those with the intention of, hey, look, these are used for games take precedence, the leftovers we're using for practice. But, we cut back because we didn't have the budget,
so
for the practices.
You made the comment that you raised the price $75.
No, we didn't raise it. I'm saying that's what it would be. We'd have to budget next.
If they left it as what?
If we left it as is, if the status quo, we'd have to turn around and then instead of what we charge now, we'd have to add $75 to the cost.
Right.
Would you say you charge
less girls?
It goes up.
Right.
It goes up.
And what did you say you charge now for the 70?
Now the prices are $150 because we did include at the $20 rate some game time. So, that was in the budget. When the fields were free, a couple of years ago, the program was $95.
But you understand why we did.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think we all do. I think we all have cleaned up the fields.
Right.
No, it wasn't only the trash.
No.
We had baseball and softball teams that weren't even from Pequannock.
Yes.
Playing on our fields, and the reason we went to $50 an hour was to make it difficult for them
to monopolize
it. And I think we've succeeded.
You got most of it, but it's still going on.
That's okay.
Not as bad as before.
And it sounds like you don't even have as much usage as some of the other groups, do you? On the in-town fields?
It depends. A game is 2 hours. The issue in the fall is truly the lights.
Yeah.
If it was another part of the season, we wouldn't really have the issue. We could find Greenview and so on and find, alternate places to play. The issue is the lights. And so, when a group takes a field from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, they're essentially occluding from 9 to 10 and occluding from 6 to 7. Mm-hmm. So, you kind of capture the field for the whole entire day.
I guess what Melissa's asking, do you have fields for your 6 teams for your 6 home games for every?
We are now rescheduling and playing away. So
you're not playing any home games?
We are. Well, with the $1,600, we have fields booked Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
So we are going to fill those, but there's not enough. So we have 6 teams, 6 home games, 36 possible games without any practices.
Right.
So 36 time slots would be what we would need.
Bob, can I ask a question? Is it that difficult? Because I think it's all online now to become a nonprofit.
Yeah, it isn't difficult, it's not the difficulty of it.
It's not easy, though.
It's, the filing for a non-for-profit isn't difficult. It's that they made some new regulations that require some annual, yeah, they made it more difficult, and that definitely adds some accounting costs to it, so.
And you're only allowed to end with a certain amount of money.
Well, you have to,
So if you're collecting 30,000,
Yeah.
you better be spending close to 30,000.
Well, you have to be able to explain
You can't
it.
be
Right.
collecting 30 and only
And
spending
essentially, you
10,
have to have a plan
then
in
you're not
place
a
when you're done,
not-for-profit.
where any money left over is going to go. And that's not that hard for an athletic organ. It'd be donated to another charitable athletic organization, you know. So I don't know that it's difficult, but there certainly is some cost involved in it. And there is an annual cost today, which didn't used to exist. I don't know what accountants are
And if the number of teams go down, then the
That's
cost
what
will
you're worried about.
rise considerably per person. I mean, you know, it's straight math, so that's the concern.
Right, I think the best thing for us to do is
take a look.
talk to have our township manager give us some kind of recommendation. We see the issue, we understand the issue, we want to fix the issue. We can't fix it tonight, but we will fix it. And it might take a month, I don't know, you know, depends. Unfortunately, government works so slow.
Yeah, but I would just like to be really clear that if the nonprofit doesn't work out, would you really consider folding into a Parks and Rec program like our soccer?
I think he would.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you speak for the whole organization? I don't know.
Well, I can't speak for everybody. I mean, it is a volunteer group, and my daughter is, you know, she's 14, so. You know, so
But
it
there's a point when
depends on
she'll
what
grow
it
up
is. It should
and
have
she'll be in it.
longevity. I mean, my goal is that, you know, that this thing should have longevity. We have 70 kids in the program, 100% PV middle school softball team. You're going to be going to high school, and you have a bunch of young kids that are energized, and coaches are energized, and they're given tons of hours to it. So it'd be foolish to let this thing just die because we can't get on our own fields.
Actually, it would be a good deal in
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Of course it would.
And I realize it changes from year to year. You have 70 this year, or have you been kind of maintaining that, or you said, was it
We
just
started
like
with 12.
about how many years ago was that? About five,
5.
6? Okay. But it keeps climbing.
It does. I mean, at some point, we're going to top out like every
Yeah.
other program in town because there's only so many girls to grab. I mean, I think out of Little League, we had over 90% of the kids that are playing Little League play this. So now you have this whole body of kids that have all year-round activities.
All right, well, we
I
appreciate.
think it's a great idea for them to fall under Parks and Rec, but that's going to be a slippery slope.
Right, we're going to have to see what that means.
Because you're going to have
To you and
the Patriots and everybody else saying, hey, I'd like to fall under Parks and Rec.
I'll say this. Take a look at Lincoln Park. Take a look at Jefferson. Take a look at Robbinsville. Take a look at Montville. Right, we're constantly being compared to Robbinsville. They have indoor facilities for their kids.
Let's not get that away.
I'm just saying, hey, you know,
One step at a time.
I'm just leaving it on the table.
We got to support the kids.
Well, we do appreciate you bringing it to light, because until I started seeing the emails, I didn't even know about Pequannock Crunch.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing, is a lot of people don't even know about it. It might be bigger if more people knew about it.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty big considering 70 people.
Yeah, but if we didn't know about it.
So
Well, the girls go largely unnoticed.
I know, and they shouldn't.
they should.
They should
Can
not.
we
We appreciate
give
it.
him some kind of timeline when we'll try to address
Yeah.
this, or?
I mean, we're already.
Unfortunately, he's paid the fee already this year,
No,
so.
I understand that, but going forward into next year,
Well,
I mean.
I would
Yeah, we're
hope.
really-
We got to resolve.
I would
it
hope
before
that
the
it's
next-
going to be resolved before
Right, so I don't,
fall softball.
I mean, is it
next year.
something we can?
Well, it's spring. We also play in the spring. As a complimentary thing to Little League.
That's a good thing to work on.
Okay, so we have our work cut out for us,
Very good.
right, Dave?
I'll give you
Your
some
recommendation?
alternatives before your next meeting.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Thanks, guys.
We really
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thanks. All right, anyone else like to come up for public comment? Yes, please just state your name and address for the record.
Dr. Brian Sealski, 14 Slingerland.
Okay.
Just off of Ed, there were some points. I want to thank you for your points and questions. I thought they were great. Yours as well. You had some good ideas. The councilman at the end, you indicated $30,000 like some team may come up with. a lot of that goes to salary, because when you compare it to the 501 or 2, so some of that can go to salary and they can wind up with $0. Again, we're volunteers. I just want you to keep that in mind. That's very important.
All I was saying was if you collect 30, you can't end
have
up only spending
25.
10.
Yeah, exactly.
And 20,000 left, because
Exactly.
then you're really not a nonprofit.
Yeah, and they usually spend it on salary and trips and whatever, so that's how that's taken care of. There is still a monopoly issue in town by out-of-town teams.
We're going to look into that.
Okay. I mean, like, we have, like, all these town teams that are coming in and taking it, so that is a problem. You know, our kids...
I promise you we will look into it because it's not fair.
Exactly.
Do you know who they are?
Now we'd like to know.
Well, let me ask you this. It's an issue because of the lights at this time of the year, correct? So we only have 3 fields that have lights, and 1 field is out of commission right now.
At this time of the year, yes, because obviously there's less daylight. As Ed mentioned, the time slotting is an issue.
Right.
You know, when they book 7 to 9, like, that needs to be thought about, okay? It's not a good way to do it. You know, you take 4 to 6, or, you know, 5 to 7 and 7 to 9, or whatever the numbers have to be in order to split it up equally so that they can't monopolize.
Is that the times that we have on Community Pass? 7 and 9 and that, or is it an issue of time shifting?
Yeah, it's open, actually. The user can select their times.
Yeah.
So we don't predefine it.
So it's not predefined.
To do that.
Is that something that...
Maybe that's an idea.
Yeah.
I know we're here to solve problems, you know, that's what we
And just, you know, if we allow a 2-hour slot, then it just has to be discussed during game, pregame. Hey, we got to drop dead at 9 o'clock, or we got to drop dead at 6 o'clock, because
lights need to be out at 10, so.
we have the
Right,
field
so you
from
really
4
need
to
to go
6.
from 6 to 8, 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Right, you gotta go 10 backwards.
Exactly, so you go backwards. And obviously, I know we all agree how amazing the Crunch program is. I think, you know, Ed brought that out in an excellent, you know, discussion. It's really town-based, and that's important to note. And just to keep in our minds, as the numbers go up, it's easy to defer the cost amongst, but it does fluctuate, and as it goes down, the price goes up. And you know, in today's economy, more and more people are going to be like, well, that's a little too much, and then the program dies, and then it's lost.
We understand.
That's right.
So-
Let us look into it. We
Yeah.
heard what
Okay.
everybody said.
Awesome.
Heard what Ed said.
So 2 things we're looking into, time slots as well as
Right. We may have to define the time slots instead of somebody
Yeah, makes
calculating
sense.
between 7 and 9, because that kills it for the rest of the...
Yeah, it ruins it.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes.
Sam Cerisi, Tunis Place. Just 2 things. I was wondering if, A, it would be possible that we could be grandfathered into the old rule, so it doesn't affect the season. And B, just so you do understand how nonprofit we are, I coached the 10U team with Coach Jack over there, and he coached last year, so I said, so you gonna get me a hat or something to wear to this game? And he goes, you can go on the website and buy it at $28.
Is that something that's available, or?
Do you-
Yeah, can we get him a hat?
No, he was talking about the grandfathering.
I went to Initial Encounter and I bought a hat.
Okay, we feel better now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Is that something that we can do, or?
It's not within my purview.
That's in
We'd have
our...
to look at that.
Yeah, let us look at everything and we'll figure it out.
discuss
That's all. I mean,
All right, thank you. Anyone else? On any subject? No? All right. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for bringing that up. At this time, we've reached the end of public comment period, and as was previously noted, we will add an additional comment period for later in the evening. Next on the agenda is public hearings, and we have one. If I can ask Ms. Marsh to read public hearing on ordinance number 2017-14.
Hey, did we say something wrong?
You can stay if you like.
This was going to affect your water bill.
Yeah, right?
Have a good one.
This is the real one.
They all leave then.
5.5 million.
They all
Nobody
came.
cares. And your new flood insurance.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, at the...
He kicked it over there. And he sent it today, I couldn't believe it.
Nice shirts.
Okay. So back to the public hearing. Bless you. Ms. Marsh, can I ask you to read the public hearing on ordinance 2017-14?
Ordinance 2017-14 is a bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 2007-13 as supplemented by number 2014-18, restating bond ordinance 2014-18 and providing a supplemental appropriation of $5,560,000 for various improvements to the water utility in and by the Township of Pequannock in the County of Morris, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of $5,560,000 in bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof.
All right, thank you. Before we open up the public hearing, are there comments from any council members on this? No?
No.
And can I have a motion to open public hearing, please?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, if anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone, and you can identify yourself for the record. Anyone? All right, motion to close?
Make that motion?
And second. All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, can I have a motion to adopt this ordinance, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2017-14.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. No ordinances for introduction this evening, so we're going to move right on to resolutions for approval. We do have quite a few of them. If Ms. Marsh can go through each of the resolutions, please.
Beginning with Resolution R 2017-163, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 2017-164, authorizing the reinstatement of a special assessment installment payment plan. 2017-165, authorizing release of deposits for construction in a township right-of-way. R 2017-166, accepting site triangle easements from Leonard DeMarco to the Township of Pequannock. 2017-167, confirming the designated memberships in the Pequannock Township Fire Department. That's for junior firefighter Robert Birkenbush. 2017-168, authorizing the execution of a community service support agreement with AHS Hospital Corporation, which is doing business as Chilton Medical Center. 2017-169, awarding a contract for the Mountain Avenue Water Storage Tank and Transmission Main, Contract 2, to PM Construction of Hillside, New Jersey, for the contract amount of $2,281,018.30 in accordance with the bid specifications. R 2017-170, authorizing purchases from designated vendors, awarded contracts by the HGAC National Cooperative Purchasing Program, that's for fire apparatus. And 2017-171, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the September 7th, 2017 bill list.
All right, thank you. Are there any comments from any of the council members on these resolutions, any of these resolutions?
I've got a question about R 2006, try that again. Question on R 2017-164. Do we have to do that for each one that asks?
Yes.
Individually?
This is only for an assessment that's being paid in installments. If they become past due on the installments, under the law, the entire assessment becomes due and payable immediately. The only way to reauthorize the installment is to have council take action.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
All right, anyone else have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Before we,
Dave.
yeah, the 168,
Yeah, the children.
that is just for the hospital?
No, it would be the two properties that are really an issue would be the hospital and the Collins Pavilion properties. The others really were not previously.
They've always paid taxes on
and they will
rehabilitation.
continue to.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So everyone's okay with that? Is there a motion to adopt the resolutions, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2017-163 through 171.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Florence Lynch?
Yes. Next on the agenda is items for discussion. I know we talked a bit about them before, so we're talking about the Chapter 129 of Parks and Rec. Do we have a handout on this, or?
Well, I think both the
They're attached.
proposed
Here they are.
revision and
Yep.
the current ordinance are in your package.
They are. This is still the proposed one that we talked about last time, right?
So how much of an increase percentage-wise are we talking?
Well, if we go with the different format, it's not really percent increase because we had a very skewed scale on how we charge families. It's going to be difficult to tell because we don't have individual statistics on, how some of these family components were made up.
Right.
And which category they're going to necessarily be in. So our hope is that in implementing this, we generate about a 10% increase in overall revenue. But we don't know, I can't show you a calculation that shows that.
Because you don't know the age groups of them?
Right.
So there's technically not a family plan?
No.
Well,
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And it's because of the way, I guess,
Right,
people were...
I got it, I understand.
Can we kind of go over, again, the main differences of the main changes? I mean, I know the family, taking away the family plan was a big one.
Well, the problem is they were adding in aunts and uncles and people who didn't live there. Like, there was no way to identify the makeup of what a family
became
was.
very extended, and actually, what we ended up with, the question you asked before, there were 264 families that were being charged based on the senior rate because, now everyone takes all their family members and, puts them with grandma and grandpa, and they become the,
What about the
primary
legitimate family, though? When I say legitimate, a family that might have 4 or 6 kids. Not that there's a lot of them that still continue to do that, but, mother and father and 4 kids in a household.
Well, the way around that, Melissa, is to say a family is good up until 4 people.
Right, but
after 4 people.
I just think that
Well,
they're,
depending on how you want to
way of handling it.
define that, I mean, we can calculate out, what a standard 6-person family, mom, dad, 4 kids, used to pay and what they will pay. And, by and large, the 4-person family where you've got 2 adults, 2 kids, is going to end up paying very similar to what they were.
I think it's easier this way, though.
Now you've got
This is much
2
easier.
at $100 and 2 at $40, so you're at 280, which is probably actually a little less than what we were at.
Yeah, and that's all I want to make sure is that it's not affecting,
Yeah, based on
going
the
way up.
typical 5-person family, 2 adults and 3 children.
Are you typical?
You're not typical.
It's about the same price, give or take. I think it was $245
calculated that.
last year, so.
And our hope is that by eliminating the playing of the numbers,
How many other people?
by having the same group of people, we end up generating the additional revenue without trying to hammer the traditional family.
Right, we don't want the 25th person to be $5.
Right.
Let's take advantage of it. Okay.
I truly would like to, and I sent you an email about the seniors, I would really want to consider the senior age at 65.
I think we should lower it to 62.
Well, 66, I think, greater than 65. I mean,
62.
no. I mean, when you look at, senior discounts are all over the place, but like the senior freeze for taxes and that is like 65, I believe. So, I mean, I think we should give our seniors a break at some point.
Isn't that what
We're proposing to change it to 65.
Right.
It currently is.
Yeah, but you're charging, I'm saying not charging them.
Did you get my response to that?
No, you must have been late.
No.
What did you say? No way?
Basically.
I said, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Well, I asked how much money it would be.
Well, again, based on our best guess, because we're changing
don't
the
know.
age,
Right.
from 60 to 65. Under the 60 rule, we had over 400 seniors, and it might be more than that, because
Okay.
senior families might have two.
But that's not 65 or 66. You're saying,
Well, it's 60, but when you account for, we had 264 senior family memberships. If you've got one who's over 60, it's highly likely you might have two.
right?
So it's somewhere between 400 and 664 is the current number of 60-year plus.
Well, I'm not talking about that, though. I'm talking about over 65.
Well, once they reach
And I know
70,
you don't
they're
know,
free.
maybe.
And we don't know, but it's somewhere between 400 and 600.
That's something to look forward to.
So at the low end of that, at 400, if you're taking $40 to zero, that's $16,000.
Yeah.
What was the...
400 is 20% of our membership
Yeah.
that you're not going to charge.
So wait, I'm trying to understand this. So we're trying to pick an age for a senior resident just based on how many seniors we have?
Yeah, we're trying to check.
My suggestion to deal with that is if you want to give a discount to seniors, income qualify it
Okay.
and provide it to those who qualify for the senior tax.
Okay, that's a good idea.
credit.
That's way to do
That's how
it.
we deal with solid waste.
Okay.
And it's already pre-qualified. We have the list. It's
I like
income
that.
qualified.
You gotta
and
do
that way we're-
something.
We have to do something for the seniors.
It's like
We
me
can't
saying
make
I
the
should go
number.
for free when that's crazy.
Yeah, but if they haven't pre-qualified for
Yeah.
waste disposal already, that's great.
You like that idea, Frank?
Okay.
I don't get a tax break for being a senior because I make too much money.
Me too, Frank, don't worry.
You don't need a break.
I don't care what age you pay.
A senior is a senior.
Past that anyway. But
Tell it to AARP.
65 is free, but every 65-year-old person that wants to go into that lake should get the senior discount. I don't care whether they're on the tax roll or they're not on the tax roll.
Oh. Well, that's
Yeah,
what I
what
originally
was-
think.
What
He's saying
was
it's too
the
much.
rate for 65, or what is the rate right now for 65?
Right now.
Like how much of a difference is it?
Hold on here, it's
in here?
Like I have all these.
Well, the
rates now.
proposal is,
And that's what I
40.
want to look at.
$6 for weekday for resident.
No, for members.
I was looking at the membership, yeah.
Oh, for membership.
How much was...
I just
or
think
how
we
much
have
is
to
it?
do something for our seniors here.
Give them a free hot dog.
It's just not right. We say Woodland Lake is free after 70. Why isn't that 65?
Yeah,
Why
that
is
should
that
be,
70?
I was just going to say,
That should be 65 or 66 or whatever it is.
if you're a senior, you're a senior.
You're 70, you're lucky you can get to the lake.
Can afford it.
Right, Melissa, it should
Everyone else pay for the car.
Melissa, think about it. Would it be fair that I go for free even though I make what I make? No. No. So there's got to be some kind of...
That's discussion.
Right.
We're discussing it. So what was the difference? Did we find the,
I'm looking. 30?
was it 30?
So it's going up.
It shouldn't go up for seniors. It shouldn't, and there should be a reduction.
100 days of access to the park for $40. What a deal.
Some of them don't have it. We keep raising taxes and they don't have the
All right,
extra
so
money.
that's what we're
They're on
talking
fixed
about. If we
incomes.
went with this scenario, it's $40
They don't have the extra
for the
money.
entire
We
season.
raise their water rates, we raise their taxes.
Which isn't terrible.
Schools go crazy. We gotta give them a break somewhere. We do. They're on fixed incomes. Seniors are on fixed incomes.
All right, so.
We should do something. Whatever we propose, we should do something and look at it and see how it does.
I mean, I agree that we need to have something special for the seniors, so we
Yes, we
just
do.
need to decide what that is.
Well, even if we kept seniors at the old rate
Right.
and everything else
Right.
changed, we're
Something.
still making sure that we're not
Getting
taking advantage.
We'll have better statistics next year when we do this in a better way.
And I do have a question about the Gates prices.
And that Woodland Lakes membership.
That last, what was it? Gate revenue, memberships. And what's the difference between 13 and now? Any idea? It was 115
What do you mean 13 and
as far as revenue for the membership on the last page. In other words, why has it steadily gone down? Any idea?
more and more people get pools.
I think we had a really bad summer. It was really cold. There was hardly anybody at the pool. It was a rainy,
It was a wet
cold
sea.
summer. We didn't even have a 100-degree day this summer. It was a terrible summer.
Because 13 was a really good year.
It was hot.
I think this year would have been
Yeah, I
fine if the
know
weather was
It
better.
was hot.
We're impacted a lot by weather. Memberships have a lot to do with what went on the year before. And now, I mean, we had water quality issues back in, 2009, 10.
Yeah, we
Forget
got
when
those
the
under
whole
control.
Right, and then they started.
duck goose issue was, but that was probably right around 12 or 13. And we did lose a lot of memberships. At one point, a lot of people started switching from they didn't take memberships, and we saw an increase in gate receipts. That was a couple of years before this, but
Interesting.
We had more daily.
There was no 1 year like the year before.
we were on a steady decline until 2016, when the total number of memberships went up and membership revenue went up. And actually, it was 2014 or 15 that we
Cut the V into the...
eliminated the, or allowed unlimited non-resident.
They also corrected the problems.
That's
Right, and that's why that,
2013.
yeah, 13 and 14.
Does gate revenue reflect Boys and Girls Club and those kind of associations? Is that within gate revenue, or does that
I-
come in membership?
Don't know
I don't
which
think so.
category that shows up, to tell you the truth. I can find out.
Just wondering. So my questions.
I don't think it's gate revenue, I think it's memberships.
I don't think we want to change too much while we change the whole process, because then we won't really know what's going on.
Yeah, and already years ago.
Now, when they come, they all get picture IDs when they join with a member.
Members all get picture IDs.
Do they bring
we-
identification when they come, like, to make sure that they're residents, like all the kids and all that
Oh,
stuff?
yeah, because we need to know what rate to charge. And we're working on, better identification method of the daily receipts. We do wristbands now, which is new last year. And we're, looking at alternatives to provide some type of actual ID that people can have for daily
Right, okay.
memberships too.
And then the other thing we're changing this year is the non-residents at Woodland Lake. That's another change, right?
Correct.
And so they can either join one or the other or both.
Or both.
Auto boarding.
And, yeah, what about that?
No, don't you dare.
Well, I was going to say,
I knew that was coming.
well, it was just a question. There's no, we haven't found a way to include paddle boards, right? I know we discussed it, but there was, I'm just
Do
asking.
you really want a paddleboard?
Are you
Not
saying-
myself.
It's not
Because I'm
safe.
thinking you're the one who wants to go paddleboard.
Not myself. I'm just asking.
No, I mean, it would be okay in PB Park, but not at Woodland.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's the discussions we
More work
had.
for the first
We
aid.
haven't found a way way to be able to include
would
them
you do
because
it-
there was an issue.
Would
with-
you do it at PV Park?
Well,
Because we don't have any other things like that.
It's too
at PV
small.
Park, right.
yeah, but he's saying we can't do it at Woodland Lake for various reasons.
It's
We don't
not
have to look
safe
at
at Woodland.
Right, Woodland, we don't know what's underneath, so that's a big issue. And
Park is too
PV, we
small.
just don't have.
I just want to make sure.
Unless you roped it off and did it off hours or odd hours.
I don't
Do it at
think there's
night.
enough room.
Do it at night paddle.
And there probably isn't.
Areas, you've got swim lane areas.
Everybody's swimming out.
Truthfully, if we don't do it at Woodland Lake, which it sounds like we can't, I don't think people would even go and try it at PV Park. There's not
And
enough.
it's not
big
safe.
enough.
There's too much debris, seaweed,
You don't know what's
the
under that
bottom.
water.
Piranhas.
I do have an idea though.
What's your idea?
So for these wonderful new swim lanes that we're going to get with floating docks from Bob's Docks, I remember the name for whatever. So there are a number of people that are, do the triathlons and those kind of things. Is there something that can go under Parks and Rec of like a training thing, like swimming classes, but for those kind of things? Because there's a big place, there's a big look, and we're all looking for lakes that we can train in, and that's actually really hard. So
You gotta
it could
become a
be something that
nonprofit,
generates revenue.
right.
If we have the docks, we have the lake.
Right, you gotta be
Someone who
nonprofit.
does training. We
Get to
can offer it if
PV
we find
Park at
someone
9
to
o'clock before anybody gets there. You can swim the whole lake.
There you go.
Right?
Even if I just need a good,
Yeah, nobody's there.
just an idea,
If
something
you
else
go
we can
early,
offer.
no one's there.
So did we decide what we're doing here?
No.
I think we almost did. I think Dave just has to revise it a little. No?
Gonna look at the
Which
seniors.
part will you revise that? I lost you there.
Well, what are we
Senior
gonna, we're gonna
piece.
look at the senior
The senior.
rate, but I don't think we've determined what we're
Well,
gonna
let's
do
cut the
with them
difference
yet.
between last year and this year, so make it 35. We should be catching more of the people in the family that are not reporting correctly, and we still can take care of the seniors.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, with freezing the seniors then. Is that what you're saying?
Freezing them at what they pay this year? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
right.
No, I think I heard.
Well,
Brian
split
say
it.
Split it, $35 or whatever.
Yeah,
So it was
So
30
instead-
last year, we were talking 40
and it
next
goes up to 35.
year,
So the PV Park only is 35 for seniors,
which is
and do you
65
want
and
to,
older.
do you want to look at a reduced rate for the qualified seniors?
Yeah, in addition to that.
To qualify it?
That'd be great.
Well,
Yeah.
originally, I thought not, but
Well, I mean, if we can qualify
If
it,
you can qualify
if it's
it.
too much,
they're
or you say you
done.
have that work already done.
No, they have it done. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the people who are registering know if they qualify, and it's
Yeah.
easy for us to,
Find it.
Yeah.
confirm it. So
I would say, yeah.
we can do a,
Senior freeze PV Park.
a $15 or $20 rate for
For the qualified.
seniors.
Yeah.
220.
So to go,
$20 for qualified members.
if you qualify based on income, it's only 20. Otherwise, it's 35.
We need to do
Frank doesn't agree.
What's the age?
What's the qualifying senior age?
Oh,
65.
65 plus,
So it'd be
66.
65 on. Yeah, 65.
Past 65.
Where this we have 65, yeah.
It's a 65.
Go back here, but what are you gonna do with the ones that you said you had 400 that were 60?
Well, but then,
Senior discounts, is that correct?
no, they don't.
No. No, we're
No,
not.
they just had senior rate.
so the age hasn't changed, right? Only the rate.
Well, we are changing age from 60 to 65.
65, right, got it.
So if you're 62 now, Frank, you're not getting the senior rate next year.
No,
You gotta be 65 or older.
A little bit past that.
over 65 you have to be.
So as it is now, if they're 60...
Frank Spazzetti, 35 West Franklin Avenue. Just so you know.
I didn't hear you, what'd you say?
Okay.
Don't yell into the mic.
So what do we do with the people that are 60 that already have the senior
Well, that's...
senior rate?
Yeah.
They're not seniors.
I mean, if you're going to raise it to
They're
65,
regular residents in our proposal.
No, but you're right, you can't like... So in other words, we're giving the rate now, if you're between 60, over
I
60.
see what he's saying. He's
You
saying
can't go
that
now, jump
If
and
you're
say, now you're not
60,
senior anymore.
You're going from $30 to
Right.
$80.
Right.
That's a huge jump.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah.
That
I don't know
doesn't
why
make
they were
sense.
seniors. They're not seniors at that age.
Well, 65 used, or 62 actually, now that I think the
thought it
government
was 60.
recognizes 62 as being a senior. And you can go just about anywhere.
Yeah, but
And
we want to help people out as they really retire. People are not retiring at 62.
no, they're not.
No.
Some are.
Some are, not many.
When do you get your senior discount?
Well, that's why I was saying we
That's
can't
a
really,
reduce.
we can't really just
If you can
pick
afford
an
to retire
age
at
for
62,
seniors.
reduce,
should
then you
use
don't
the
need this
qualifying
discount.
senior
That's
age.
exactly my point.
That's not what this is for. No. And we need to fix that Woodland Lake to be the same
I
senior.
just think it's confusing.
Instead of 70, it needs to
But
be
I
65.
think it's confusing for residents, though. If they are a qualifying senior or they're considered a senior, they know what that age is. We can't go.
But you can take,
Well, we can divine the age and hear what it is. I think our senior, we
if I can just
need to talk
add
about that,
something.
yes.
Dave
make sense.
suggested that you use the people that already have a tax
The
break,
senior freeze.
and if they're like, what's the age limit for that?
The state of New Jersey says 65.
65.
So
So
that's what a
the ones that
senior
are
is.
60 are still out
They're
someplace.
still paying regular taxes.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah, I am.
We should fix this. This should be related to something.
Yeah, it should be related to something, whether it's New
I
Jersey.
believe there were
Then go with 65.
64 individual seniors in the current year. I don't know how many of them fall between 60 and 64.
They'll all be here.
That would be worthwhile finding out, because if most of them are over the, 62 or close to 65, then you could work something in between and say, okay, from 62 to 65, you get paid this amount, and over 65.
It's too much maintenance. It's too
Or they
much
can just
maintenance.
wait 3 years.
No, it's too much
Or
maintenance.
maybe they don't have that time to wait, Some people
That's
don't
the only
last
thing
that
I'm
long.
concerned about, is what Ryan brought up. You can't do a big jump.
But if you're retired and you want to go to the lake, that's my suggestion.
Frank,
If
you ever go to the
if they're at least 62 years old, you give them one rate, and if they're 65, you give them the different rate. Because now you're not jeopardizing the people that are already getting the senior discount. You know what I mean? So you just got to work that out.
I don't agree. The whole reason is to help people who are on fixed incomes. That's the whole reason.
Not true.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, why we didn't fix that before, I don't know why. You're not a senior at 60.
Who's not? Me?
For discounts, you're
No,
not AARP.
Like I said, it's a matter of whether it's 62 or 65, but
Yeah. Whatever.
that's really,
If you retire early, you don't need the break.
Okay.
thank you. Do we,
That concludes our public comment.
yeah, but do we need to,
I would like to fix that 70 years on Woodland Lake to be the same.
well, we have to give Dave direction here.
Where are you looking, Kathy?
It says there shall be no fee at Woodland Lake for residents 70 years or older. Why is that?
If I pointed to the right place.
You could still row a boat at 70, I guess we're,
It should be 65.
okay.
You're a senior, why do we have all these different ages?
Does everybody
Crazy.
agree that senior age should be 65? Is there anybody that thinks it should be 62? I'm just
I
asking.
think it should be 60.
No, I'm just asking.
65.
65.
65.
Okay.
That's, again, if we're going from 60 to 65, that's a huge jump. for
That's
those
why I'm
60-year-olds.
asking. I didn't give up on that yet.
You're going
That's
from
why I'm
30 to
asking.
80.
Maybe
That's a
for the
big-
qualifying, you have to go with the
Again, Kathy
state.
makes a valid point.
But qualifying
You're
starts
making
at
a-
what year, though?
65.
Yeah, so that's not going to help.
Okay.
I would say 62 and then qualify at 65.
I don't agree.
Everything we know about demographics is that people are living longer and retiring later.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
everything they've done with Social Security is to extend the ages.
Right, we're not going to lower it.
There are not very many people qualified to retire or collect Social Security at 62 anymore. 65, 68,
Can we look
70.
to see how many people would be affected based on,
No, I think we need to standardize it, make it based on some sense here, like some common sense, and 65.
I do
is
too.
senior.
I just don't want to see, if we had a big pool of people that were 63 years of age, that we're paying one number and we're going to now
Well, we're increasing
increase
it, that's the way it goes.
By like,
That's how
wasn't
it
the
is.
difference like $80 or something? Or-
Yeah, you're going from 30 to 80, correct?
That's
Because it was at
$50
60.
difference.
Oh, 50, yeah.
30 to 80 is.
And the whole
Yeah.
reason is That's why we had all those families underneath all these senior people. That's where we had all this
So maybe it
problem.
won't be that much of an issue.
All right, so...
That's where people were taking
Well, you know what, let's
advantage.
give them that direction. We'll hear from people if it's in,
All right, and we'll see how it pans out next year.
Go with 65.
Because that's really where
When
it
we
comes
change
down
it,
to.
publicize it.
Too many people are taking
Here's your
advantage
time
of
to review it.
It's still 80 cents a day.
Right, exactly.
no, I know. Yeah, no, I'm all right.
Exactly. And it just makes more sense going forward.
Wow.
There you go.
You wanted a discussion.
I got it.
Okay, everybody was good with everything else on here?
I won't even go there.
The group rates?
Yeah, please.
Huh?
You want to raise them?
I think Spot 23 is getting a bargain.
They are.
It's $199 a week for your kid to go, and we're charging them $12.50
Per week?
for a week.
But we got to be careful.
For your kid.
Well, let's talk
So
about
that's
that.
$180 that they're making per kid. on our
Well,
list.
they have their counselors
have
and all
overhead.
that, but, you know, there's different things. They have insurance, they have
Well,
other things.
are they...
Well, let's
Back
talk
to a
about
question
that.
that was...
They're not paying their
No.
counselors $180.
No.
No.
But are they, Dave, which group was it that you were saying would be dropped off at the lake only for 2 hours?
That's the Boys and
That's
Girls
Boys and
Club.
Girls
That's
Club.
Boys and Girls Club.
So,
Spot 23 is there from opening to closing.
yeah,
They could probably stand
that's
an
a big
increase.
difference.
Yeah.
So are we giving a better rate to Boys and Girls Club? So in other words, if they're only going to be there for a couple of hours, do they pay the same rate as
They're a non-profit,
somebody there's the
yeah.
whole day?
They're different.
They're paying, it went from 50 cents per kid to $1.
Okay.
Spot 23 went from $2 to $2.50.
Right.
Well, that doesn't seem right.
I mean, maybe there should be a discussion about why the,
I'm sure
I
there
mean,
could,
is that the only group that's really affected?
I think there's a couple other groups, but I'm not sure.
I think we discussed it last year and the year before.
I'm fine with the rates.
But they're there all day.
All I wanted is make sure that they're getting a bargain.
well, you could always put a cost of living increase in there, some small.
We'll look at something different. I mean, the breakout that we currently have is, groups and nonprofit groups. The cost factor here is more relative to the amount of time they're using the park.
Right.
So, I don't mind, charging
More for somebody.
spa, essentially 4 times as much as the club because they're using it
All day.
4 times more.
Right.
Right.
Because they're there 8 hours instead of 2. But let's define it differently
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
Right.
we know what the use pattern is, but
Based on timing.
Right.
it doesn't really describe that as the reason that we're charging different rates.
Instead of just having the user rates, put the time frame in there of how often they're.
I think the $1 is fine. I just think the $2.50 is a bargain.
It is a bargain. And it's right there.
Well, relative to time frame, yes. So I agree that if maybe it's done by 2-hour chunks.
That'd be crazy to
I would
monitor.
even make it a little more generic and say,
Half day, full day.
group day, full day access
Yeah.
at one rate, and less than half day access another rate. That way, when we have other organizations, and frankly I don't know who else we had this summer. In the past, we've had as many as 4 daycare type providers using it. And they all have slightly different methods of when they come, how they use it. And I don't want to start counting hours. That's
No.
going to be...
No.
That's a nightmare.
So I mean, for a full day,
day.
if
Yeah.
we're giving a group user rate of $4, that's still 50% off of the daily rate. That's still a good bargain.
You don't want to drive Spot 23 away.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, I'm not talking about.
Then there's no PV park.
Yeah, I'm not talking about increasing
Right,
it
'cause-
substantially, but do you want to make up some of
I think
this?
we should increase it, don't you think? I mean,
I don't.
Well, we did, from 2 to 2.50.
Yeah, that's not
yeah.
enough.
Is that enough?
Well, and over
Well,
the
this
course
is
of
what
time...
you can do, for-profit, full day, $3. Non-profit, full day, $1.50.
But what about the
Not-for-profit, half day, stay with the dollar or go with 75 cents.
But then does that turn into a county mess?
No, I don't think so.
No, because a particular group is going to fall into one of those categories.
Yeah,
And
right.
billings, we're not billing by child.
But somebody at the gate has got to pay attention to them.
No, spot 23.
Yes.
They know.
Right.
Yeah, they do this all up front.
Ahead of time?
Yeah, they do it up front, they know what their schedule is, they know if they're
Yeah,
going to
but
be there all
They
day.
pay based on number of heads. So, I mean,
So when
we're
they get
we're
there, they go
there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what they do?
We do, yeah.
Really? Each day?
It doesn't happen every day, but
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
3 out of 5 days, we count number
So
of kids.
I think you have to sign up for a week.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd
So
be
what do we
okay with that.
decide?
I'd be okay with that, I think that's what we should do, is do.
So half day, full day rate,
Yeah.
or non-profit and profit?
I like that.
Okay.
Come up with some numbers, it's the numbers you were saying were fine.
Then we'll talk about it again.
Okay.
As long as we have
We
it
have
ready
until opening
for,
season.
That's right. We started early, see what happens when you start early?
Here's the thing, that we need to
Too much
really
input.
decide this within the next month.
Oh,
Because a
yeah.
lot of these
We have
places
to tell
start to
them, yes.
advertise
Yeah.
their
Yes.
camps.
We have to have
and
this done by
We
next
can't have them advertise their camp.
No, we have to know
You're
way
paying
ahead of time.
$2, and then we say, hey, you're paying $3. So,
So I'm sure you can get us a schedule before the next meeting, and we can start to discuss.
And we can, whether you do it as part of this ordinance or just do it over the next couple of years, you can, bump this up in 25 or 50 cent increments over, several years to get to a point where that makes sense within a larger picture of how much we're charging daily rates for, residents and so forth.
Okay.
Disney charges $125 a day. Might be a little too much.
All right, so you know where you're going with that, right? Okay. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is reports and notices. I think there was one in here. Did anyone have comments or questions on that? No? That was on the Board of Adjustment? Okay. All right, next is manager's report.
Okay, you have an updated project status report with you this evening. The revised firm's flood insurance rate maps have been issued by FEMA. I emailed all of you material earlier today. You have the maps there. I also provided lists of homes that are now included in the 100-year floodplain that were not previously, and that's 240 some odd homes. There are also a large number, almost 50 LOMAs, or letter of mass amendments, that have been issued to township properties that are no longer valid, or will no longer be valid after these maps are adopted.
And that's based on the
And
new...
you have that list of properties also.
All right, so the process moving forward is they won't be able to even redo the LOMAs based on the new base...
Well, if your LOMA has been retracted as a result of the new maps,
Then-
you're in the floodplain.
And that's it. Yeah, definite.
Well, can you explain, Dave, what is the process of this? Now that we have this, but
And how we can roll it.
when's the clock tick, and what do people have to do, and are the homeowners notified, and how does it
Okay,
happen?
well,
Because there's a 30-day period, 90.
So, and part of this is, so what is it you want us to notify the homeowners of?
Are we obligated to, or how does this work?
Well, no, no, but we should.
Right, okay.
We should let people know what's going on, it's impacting their properties. I did forward you a memo from Joe Golden, which attempted to give you kind of a current status of where we're at, and what some of the impacts are as we understand them, because it's still very fluid, and I don't think we have a good handle on the whole scope of, everything that this means, because there's a lot involved. We are in the current, in the 30-day map review period, which is really just for spelling errors, identification errors, do they have streets labeled correctly, and streams and things like that. So we're in that period, and we haven't found anything, but we will respond if we do. the appeal of the actual hydrology or hydraulics that are involved in the determination of what is floodplain, that appeal period does not start until they notify us that it is going to start. They should notify us, and up until 3 weeks ago, they said that we'd be getting that notice in October, and we would be told of when and where the kickoff meeting is that kind of, starts that process. So we were anticipating that would occur in October. The recent events of the hurricanes in Florida and Texas have caused FEMA to reallocate their assets. So what we've been hearing from FEMA is don't expect that letter or the kickoff meeting anytime soon.
Well, the one thing about this, though, a lot of these are new areas that people who are not familiar...
They're going to be blindsided.
They're blindsided. They don't even understand any of this. People who are been in the village and all that, they're very familiar with a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
People are not familiar with this. They don't know what it means.
Right.
They don't.
People are going to be shocked.
They're shocked. They have no idea. Of all the floods we've ever had in this town, these places have not flooded. So I don't even know where they get the idea of some of this stuff. And this has to be explained to people in layman's terms, not all this, We
have to be able to explain why they're on this list.
If we understood it ourselves, we'd be able to explain it.
And we are appealing it, so we aren't 100% sure that it's going to stay.
Yeah, but we have to decide what we're going to do.
But we have to fight it.
We have to fight this because this is ridiculous.
Well, that's what I said. We're appealing it.
So, in terms of notification, so we have the list of properties that are included now and weren't, and we can, send them a letter easy enough to say, hey, you should be aware that the new maps have identified you as being in the 100-year floodplain. We know what some of the impacts are. Eventually, it will cause them to need to purchase flood insurance if they have a mortgage.
It will cause the value of their property to drop significantly.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
That's harder to quantify, but it's
a fact.
Probable.
It will have some impacts on their ability to get construction permits and do work to their property. It will make it more difficult because the permitting process now has to go through the state and go through our floodplain management applications, not just a straight construction permit anymore. Potentially, there are limitations on the amount of work that can be done in terms of improving homes to more than 50% of their value. So there are a lot of potential impacts. Some of them are speculative, and since we are going to be appealing, some of the impacts will not take place until and unless these maps become, finally adopted by FEMA, like flood insurance. And at this point, we have no expectation that's going to occur anytime this year and probably not next year.
Right, but if I was to purchase a home and it happens and my attorney does his due diligence, he's going to find that, it looks like FEMA is going to put that into a flood zone, yes or no? Yes.
If they look in the right place, if they're just looking at FEMA adopted maps, they're not in a flood zone. My understanding is that the map that is still, available on public websites is the version before this that does not have those properties. So, outside of those of us who have actually received this, I don't think there is general ability to access this information.
At this time. So we have to go through the appeal process, just like all the other towns, I'm sure, are going to do the same thing.
We had on our town website the link that you could put in your address and
that is for
see the new preliminary.
The county has that.
It was linked to the Morris County site.
Right. And
their site still has the previous version.
I can't even find it on our website anymore.
I just looked at it today.
Yeah, it's there.
You can get to the previous preliminary flood maps, but it's not going to have these on.
So is there going to be a new updated county map?
There should be.
At this point, we don't believe so. At least not until that meeting occurs. The meeting where FEMA officially kicks off the process of this is your new map or your new proposed map. My understanding is the county is not going to change their website until that occurs.
I wouldn't notify anyone until we know when the meeting is going to be, where the meeting is going to be.
They should panic.
And until that map is updated, because if you're a homeowner and you get the letter, you should be able to say, okay, well, the town says I can I can go to this link, I can put my address in, and I can see if my house is in the new flood. There's no sense of us alarming everyone now and, causing 50 million phone calls going to Joe Golden. Joe Golden's got nothing to do with this.
No, he can do nothing. It's FEMA.
No, but I don't know if I totally agree with you, though, because now this is the new revised preliminary. And
but not everyone has.
Right, but everyone's been working off a preliminary map that we told them that was out there, and now there's a new preliminary map, and we're not going to say anything?
Well, it's not an official link, yeah.
Yeah, well, either was the other one.
We are going to say something when we know when the meeting is.
I'm going to let Mike talk.
Just come up to the
microphone. And state your name.
We were talking about you earlier, Mike. We said we hope you didn't go from...
Like he's smiling, huh?
Well, I didn't even...
Mike with 208 Reynolds Road. I saw a posting on it on Facebook, so I went onto the FEMA website, and I was able to look at, it's listed as 82207 is the map. And on Reynolds, there are some houses, but my house looks like it's 4 houses out of it. So I don't know.
So you did find it?
Yeah.
Is that the...
I took a screenshot. I don't know exactly.
That's the date that was in his memo that it came out, right?
Yeah, but what does it say on it? I don't know.
All of Greenview Drive is in it.
It's in it's FEMA.maps.arcgis.com. I just took a screenshot because I figured I might not be able to find it.
How do they describe the map?
Well, the problem is a resident can't do anything at this point. They'll be notified by their mortgage company.
But
once FEMA...
Start to get educated.
No, but the point is, Mike does have access to the maps.
That's my point.
You said August 22nd. They can look, just like they could before.
So, but you know for sure my house wasn't on that list?
We were talking about it earlier, Mike.
What's your address?
8 Reynolds.
I didn't
Would you like it to be?
No.
All right, so, and where did you find that? Directly on the FEMA site?
FEMA.maps, right?
Yeah, it was...
What's the website, Mike?
/maps.
But you guys are not going to have to worry about notifying everybody, because I see a gentleman writing quickly down
In the
there.
oral history, there's never...
I just took a screenshot. So it was FEMA.maps.arcgis.
.maps. What?
ARCG.
Oh, yeah, there it is, right there.
FEMA.maps.
ARCGIS. But I'm pretty sure that I saw that someone posted on the Facebook page, and that's how...
But now you said you saw some on Reynolds. Didn't you say that? I didn't see any on this list.
See, the problem is when you notify about the meeting, there's not enough time for everybody to get to the meeting.
Maps. Yeah.
There's just not enough time when we know about the meeting.
It looked like it was on this page.
See, this is where I went to when I got that. Where did you go after that?
I'm not really sure. I could check, but because I just took a screenshot because I figured I might not be able to find this game. I mean, it's a lot of the town.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the whole town. Yeah.
All right, so So
But
it's-
Dave, currently the building department has to pre-adopt these maps, right?
No.
No.
So they don't have to do construction based on what's coming?
Okay, so this is our dispute with DEP, is that DEP has, which is state agency, not FEMA, has taken the view that building construction needs to be done according to the most current maps available.
Which is now this one.
FEMA takes the position that their maps are not official until finally adopted. DEP takes the position that, well, once FEMA has put out a preliminary map, it's the best information available. Understand that the state did that in the wake of Sandy so that all the reconstruction done in Monmouth Ocean County would meet new standards for velocity and the V-zone and
it makes
all the
sense for
issues
something
they dealt
that's
with.
destroyed, yeah.
It doesn't make sense for a riverine community where we don't have the same issues as Monmouth Ocean County.
Right. We don't have rushing water, we don't have wind, we don't have...
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, we have had discussions with DEP. There are actually people at DEP who understand our position, but they have not yet changed their official position on how they're making us apply these maps. And up until, these came out, it was the prior, where our biggest issue was, the increase in size of the floodway, which has impacts on zoning construction.
But now the direction given months ago was, okay, we were using the worst case scenario. So
this would be worst case
now that we got these new maps, we're going to have to do the same thing, most likely.
But then in the floodplain, in the floodway, now you can't add on to a house. You can't even have an above-ground pool. You can't have a shed. I mean, that's how it affects.
And in the flood zone, now you have to file permits that you didn't previously have.
So if you have a shed there, you can leave it there, but you just can't put a new shed? What if you have a shed in the floodway? You can leave it if you have it?
If it's already there, it's fine.
Legally.
What about fence?
Yeah, what about fence?
You're allowed to have a fence in floodway?
Not really. Only certain times has to allow flow of water.
Right, because you don't want to block things that just coming through. See how complex it gets.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, we're going to talk about this one.
All right.
So, going back to notification.
Yeah.
Do you want us to do a mailing to this group of properties?
Yes. I think
Or not?
we need
Well,
to do something.
honestly, I think we need to do something because what happens is when you get the notification about the meeting, how much time is there?
Right. They're usually finding out about it 2 days.
A few weeks to a month.
Is this something where we would have another flood meeting, let's say, at the hall or something, where we can at least, this is what we know, which isn't much, but these are the flood maps and this is what potentially it means?
Well, I think you'd have to have two meetings. You'd have to have it for new people who don't know anything.
Yeah,
And then
no,
have
we
one
don't.
for who, are experienced and it's just gotten a little worse,
Until we have some more information.
It's touchy.
I don't think it's appropriate to have a meeting, because what are we meeting about? What are we going to tell them?
Yeah, well, that's the net problem. What are the answers?
We don't have the answers yet.
How about you do this, Dave? How about you get the letter ready, and you have it ready to go? As soon as we find out, it goes out. And until then, I wouldn't do anything.
Dave, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people are going to know after this
They're
meeting.
going to know anyway.
After this meeting, everybody knows.
It's not an issue about doing nothing. The issue is we don't have answers.
We need to be able to explain it so they know, like, where it is in the,
Right, we don't know ourselves.
What
plus
we're
we're going
planning
to
on
appeal it,
doing is
too.
appealing, correct?
We're going
Yes.
to, yeah, we
That's
have
what
to
we're
appeal
planning on
this.
doing. We're going to appeal this.
We're going to hire an expert, and we're going to appeal it.
Yeah, but now, by saying appeal, now you're going to have,
what does
and
that
you guys
exactly
probably know that there's probably some things that should be appealed and some things that shouldn't. So everybody's going to take the position that we're going to appeal it all, and
What do you
that's
mean,
not.
some things should not be appealed?
no,
Well,
we're gonna
and it
have to
also
hire
depends
our
on
own
the
expert.
success of the other towns. So if
Right.
Wayne's appealing
Yeah, but I'm
it, and
just saying.
Fairfield's appealing it,
Sure,
and Riverdale's
everybody's
appealing
jumping
it.
all
I'm talking about
Mistake is
individual
already done.
properties. I'm talking about the properties.
And the appeals are going to have to be based on,
something
Scientific data.
Yeah.
I understand.
Hydraulic studies of these areas, and I understand now we're dealing with two very different issues. The floodway along the Pompton and the floodplain along the East Ditch. They're also two different river structures, so the hydrologic study may find different things in each of those places. So to just generally say we're going to appeal this,
Right, which is the point I was trying to make.
yeah, we actually have to appeal multiple parts and back both of them up, and we may or may not be successful in one or both.
And
how much money is it going to cost us to appeal?
Right.
I don't care what it costs.
Yeah, but we have to budget for it. We just can't just say we don't care how much. We have to know.
Yes, Kathy, you're right, but we can't say, oh, we're all
We have
gonna
to
spend
start
$20,000.
somewhere.
No, but we have to know.
We have to start somewhere.
I mean, it's complex. We got under Central Basin Committee, we got the model that they were using for the Passaic River. And Fairfield ran all this stuff, and it was still hard trying to figure out heads or tails of whether culverts were in there, whether crossings were in there, if we took them out, how did that change the flow? And it was still very hard to read. So I don't think net it came up with anything that helped us.
Well, Wayne has done. How successful was Wayne?
Passaic County,
I don't think they
it's
were.
done.
Were they successful or they're not done?
I don't know what the final result was.
And I was under the impression that they weren't going to roll out anything from Morris County until Passaic County was done, so
Can
being that
we
they're
look-
rolling out Morris County, I would think that they're done.
Can we look at what,
I'm sure we would have heard if Passaic Valley, Passaic was able to
See who they
keep it
used.
the
Were
way
they
it was.
good?
I don't think they were successful, but I'd like to see if we can find out.
Yeah, how were their vendors that they used? Were they good? Were they successful?
Yeah,
Was
how
there
far did they
other
get?
ones that are better?
And, was it
It's
just,
only a handful of people who are
Qualified.
really knowledgeable about this.
Henry?
there was somebody that wanted to comment on this. I was going to let them, were you raising your hand?
No, well, you guys.
Just come up real quick, because I saw her back there, and I'm going to let her speak. Just say your name and address.
Sorry, Kyle Russell, 6 Walnut Ave, Pompton Plains. Am I on there? But when you were saying about having another flood meeting, I'm not in a flood zone. I would never go to a flood meeting. So
Unless you knew you were
that's.
So we would have to know.
And then if you say you may be, then you're going to freak people out.
Exactly. And that's what we don't know.
But on the other hand, people need more than a month to digest that, because if their home goes from non-flood to flood, that's a loss, a lot. People might be thinking of, I'm going to get a home equity loan to pay for my kid's college, and all of a sudden, guess what? They're not getting it.
Right.
No, we appreciate it. We're going to figure out how to best do this communication.
Oh,
but I
and
mean,
while I'm up here with the,
you want to,
using the Spot 23, you're right. You're not going to scare them away. They walk there. Just for them to bus those kids to someplace else would be a lot of money. So raising a little bit, they're not going anywhere.
thank you. All right, anyway, so direction to Dave. I think,
There's nothing to do with this.
Yeah, we're kind of waiting
Yeah,
for them, right?
But we do have to be ready to pull the trigger as soon as we know, because people have these busy schedules and they won't realize the importance.
All the FEMA representatives may be tied up for the next 6 months, so this may not happen for another 6 to 8 months.
So, again, I'll refer back to Joe's memo. We are investigating and trying to get quotes and scope of services from consultants who will be able to, help us with the appeal. My hope is that within the next 4 weeks, we'll be able to come back with a presentation and a proposal to you guys to say, okay, this is the way we think we should go forward, and hopefully engage a professional sooner rather than later, so that we kind of have all the information, so that whenever that meeting does occur, we're already ready. We're not waiting for that to start doing our work. We're going to do it now, because now, hopefully that's the last time they're changing this, but, we need to know what we're appealing before we could hire someone, so now that this map is out, now it's appropriate to engage someone to start working on our appeal.
and I don't know if it would fall under that, but my one main concern is what we were talking about before, people that were never in a flood zone before. Now they might be. Is there a way to kind of anticipate whether, I mean, if somebody's only lived in the house for a short period of time, our department, our town should know the likelihood of...
So I see a couple different options. We can do a mailing to this entire list, say, by the way, new maps were published, and your home, which was never in a floodplain before, is now proposed to be in a 100-year floodplain. And I can go over, I can do a summary of Joe's memo and outline some of the potential issues. That's going to cause 240 people to call us.
Right, with no answer.
And we're going to be busy for the next 3 months trying to answer questions we don't have answers to.
Right. And the map isn't even, that you can send them, you can tell them, go to this link. It's going to show the old map, so they're going to say, okay.
People are going to want to know what this means to them.
Isn't FEMA obligated to notify these people?
Well, FEMA will notify the banks, and the banks will then collect for it, because they have to hedge their bet, which is the note.
But that's not until it's finalized.
Right.
Yeah, they're not. Their obligation is to publish a map and own a rewire.
So we hire experts. They're allowed to get into all the data that FEMA used to come up with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we had the data that they used to come up with the floodway. Now we need to know what they were looking at when they came up with this
I'd love to know what they're looking at.
new floodplain. So my suggestion is wait until we get back to you with a proposal and a consultant, and we can say, okay, now council is engaged XYZ expert in this matter. This is what the process we're going to follow. And at least we can say we're doing something, even if we don't know all of these specific impacts to these properties yet.
In the meantime, when people, because like we said, everybody's going to know after this meeting, and so if somebody wants to see if they're affected, they'll be able to find it, and we're just leaving it on them to.
They're not going to be able to find anything
this time too.
They can only put their address on that link and look at it, and we can only tell them that we don't know.
If it's not the current map.
But it might be. According to Mike, it might be.
They're going to get a false reading.
It's no different than the preliminary map that's there now. It's just a new updated preliminary map.
Dave, does Joe, or do we have, based on Irene, do we have the outline of that plotted on something like this that we can reference?
Not the exact outline. We were, in the previous version of the map, we were very comfortable with the delineation of the 100-year floodplain as matching the impact.
So based on Irene and based on the old maps, it was pretty much spot on. And then this grew in size.
And actually, there are even spots on the Pompton River side where the 100-year floodplain actually got smaller. It regressed, which we agreed with based on
what happened,
the Irene event. Irene did have an impact to street flooding and some first floor flooding on the west side of West Parkway, minimally, off of the east ditch. But again, it's a different river system. The east ditch reacts very differently than the Pompton River. The Pompton River is being influenced by 355 square miles of rainfall,
this way.
And the east ditch is influenced by 10 or 12 square miles. So the impact is a lot quicker, and it recedes a lot faster, and is influenced by what's going on downstream.
As far as drainage-wise.
Correct.
So if it can't drain.
Do we know? Irene, it drained before the river even rose. It drained. I remember driving around with you over there.
Yes.
Do we have a percentage? So do we know that this map grew by 10%, 15% over the old map?
I don't have a percentage.
It grew by 179 acres.
What does that mean? Any clue?
Well, how many acres are in the town? We can figure it out.
7 square miles. Divide it up.
I don't know what an acre works out to be. Come on.
4 to 3,000 square.
Okay, right.
But yeah, we should be able to.
Or the 560.
To me, it sounds like FEMA wants as many houses
To make money.
in flood insurance that will not present a claim to help offset the ones that are having multiple claims. Did I just say that?
Yeah. That might be.
Yes, you did.
It's the truth.
But we're not talking about a $500, flood insurance policy. We're talking about a $1,700 flood insurance policy.
Yeah, that's it.
It all depends on what zone it is.
Well, he's saying these are all going in the 100-year.
It all depends on what zone it is.
You talk to Freeland.
I mean, you're not going to pay the same flood insurance that someone in the village is that lives on West Parkway.
Yeah, it depends on the height, your base flood elevation. But still, we're adding 200 and some odd structures to the payroll, to FEMA.
And as soon as somebody hears this in a flood zone, the value of the house goes from
And 200 and some
Anyway,
odd houses
concluding
that
my
are probably
report-
gonna
Can I just ask you one thing? Now,
appeal.
we have a.
We're upset. Imagine what the rest of the people are going to be
Our
upset
flood
about.
committee is meeting this week. Are we going to have
Something to talk about?
Joe or somebody come in? I mean, we need.
There's nothing to
people-
say
I
now.
know.
Joe is, I have Joe running in so many
Huh?
different directions right now.
All right, well, I'm just saying, it needs to be shared.
I provided a lot of information,
Right. You have to
including Joe's
digest
memo.
it.
I asked Joe to prepare that memo to provide an overview of what we know.
Okay.
And that, I think it does it as best
Okay.
as we can.
right.
So I would
We'll
give
digest
them
it at
Joe's
the meeting.
memo and, the information
Okay.
that we were able to put together. I'm sure Joe would be happy to talk to them, but
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Joe's working on 10
bring
different
it-
things
I'll
right
bring
now,
it
and
to the meeting on Thursday.
it's causing
and make sure that
everyone
we go
urgent.
through it. Okay. Go ahead, what else you got?
Just a list of upcoming events.
What else you got,
done.
Dave? You were done, you didn't have anything else? Oh.
Nope.
Okay. Who'd like to go?
I have a question for Dave while you have your report on the hoedown, because the weather looks iffy. How do we know if the hoedown's on or not?
10%.
What's the call? What's
Yeah,
the
how do we,
call
so
on
we don't have like
date?
the parade thing, like how do we know? How do
There
people
is a
know?
rain date for the next day.
I know that, but how do we know?
There is a rain date, unless the weather report is so absolute that it's going to be washout, when we would call it the day before.
Okay.
It won't be called until that morning, and we will put it out on all of our...
In Friday morning or Saturday morning?
No, Saturday morning.
Is there a time?
Can we do that
I
reverse?
got partly sunny on Saturday.
Well, I got
We
20%
can-
chance of rain. I mean, come on.
I know,
Do
can
they
we do
make
that
a call
reverse
by
thing if we do
6 or
cancel?
7? Because the setup starts at 8, so they have to
Yeah,
make
we'll
that
make
call.
it very early.
6 or earlier, they'd have to make that.
We'll put it on all of our media outlets. We'll also try and get it to Colleen to kind of
I know.
distribute.
Pray for sun.
We need to know.
And
We need to know.
if it only looks like a chance of scattered showers,
It's on.
It'll be on.
It's on. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll go first, Melissa.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Red.
Okay.
I was going to pick on Kat.
Melissa,
Yeah.
if we have a planning board meeting on Monday, I will not be there. I have back to school night, back to fall. That is my report.
We do actually have a planning board meeting on the, was it 18th?
I have back to school night.
Yeah, I just saw it come out.
Okay, back to school night at the fall. That's what happens when you have to be a parent again.
Was there enough
Okay.
people there to have
Do
a
you wanna-
quorum anyway?
Yeah, there's enough people. There's lots.
You don't have anything else?
That's it.
I do know, I don't know if you were at the last fire meeting, Fish and Chips.
Yeah.
There's a Fish and Chips.
When is that,
I
Rich?
sent the email
Oh,
out
Sunday?
to all you guys.
Okay.
What date is that, Rich?
I sent the email, I don't remember it on my calendar.
That's
You know, we
October,
need a council calendar, so we
We do.
know what we're doing, right?
No, we
Clerk
did.
over there?
I just sent it yesterday. I was like,
I just woke up.
yeah, Carol, could you do that? We were just talking about
It'd be
that.
nice to have a
I know
council.
there's like a boy, there's a scouting thing this weekend, and there's a couple of things coming up. Maybe you can kind of just do a summary for.
But can we have, like, can we
Scouting
use our
thing.
calendar on our email, like, can't we do something?
So we can all
to
access it.
make ourselves organized more? No? Think about this.
Share the same.
Share the
Let me
same.
think about it.
Think about it, yeah. Because we're starting to get a little crazy with events.
Yeah. So
At the very least, we can email one with the, like the FYIs. But let me think about that a little bit more.
All right, Ryan, you want to do your report?
Yes, love to. Open Space met last night. Do we have any updates on, what was it, 84? What was the? 84 Pequannock.
I'll discuss it in closed.
Okay. Other than that, we have our Municipal Alliance Committee meeting this Wednesday, 4:30 at the high school. And that is it.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Kathy?
I have two things. I hate to bring it up, but people have asked me to ask about, are we going to evaluate the carry-in, carry-out? It's been 6 months, okay.
You said September, October? September, I think.
So
Peter will be here
next meeting.
October 10th, I think.
Okay.
All right.
I'd be really anxious.
He's going to convene you as Board of Health. You can...
Okay. And then also, I've been asked about events at Stephen Gerace, I guess with Fields, and they said the parking over there is on both sides, and they said the police used to post it, and now they don't. I don't know. What did Parks and Rec usually tell the police department that something was going on there so that they could, like I know at Washington Park they used to do that. They used to post it so you only park on one side of the road. They're saying parking on both sides so they can't get a car.
When there's events? Soccer, like during soccer?
Yeah, I don't know if it's soccer, or if it's what they use in the fields for. Is there some kind of communication that's broken down that?
I don't know. Let me check under what... I know what they do at Washington. I don't...
This was Stephen Gerace, yeah.
Gerace. I don't know why they would do that at Gerace. It's not...
I remember people coming here at one time complaining about it.
What streets is that?
Right on the boulevard, right in front.
Well, I guess it's the one,
No, it's the side.
right, the side, yeah.
Atkinson?
Yes.
Or Mandeville?
Mandeville.
That was at Mandeville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there seems to be some maybe miscommunications there or whatever. We had our historic commission meeting, not much came up except those two topics that had nothing to do with that. And have environmental tomorrow night. That's it.
We're still waiting for historic...
The MOU?
Yeah, society to...
Dave
come back to
Wisniewski supposed to be contacting Chris. Did you hear from Dave?
Yes, so about a month ago.
Not staff, Dave Wisniewski.
Yes.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Because I just saw him yesterday. If I had known, I would have nudged him. I'll send him off an email and ask him, because they said it was covered.
You talked to him a month ago, and what is he saying?
It was on our agenda, and they said that, and this was just last week, and I thought everything was...
Our last interaction with them, they had expressed concern over a couple of the issues. They were going to get back to us and
They were meeting on Sunday, last Sunday, because the station was open, and they were going to have it open, and they were going to be there Sunday.
Okay.
They were going to hash it out, and then they were going to contact you this week. So it's only Tuesday, but they were meeting on Sunday. Maybe they're summarizing it, and then they were going to contact you.
All right.
That was what the plan was. But I'll nudge them. Okay. Because they're anxious. They're just as anxious to get into. Because they do want it on the Pathways tour, and they are putting an insert in the flyer, so they're just as anxious. Okay.
Thanks, Kathy. Dave?
First Aid Squad met last night. They had 64 calls last month. The squad dinner is November 3rd at the Brownstone. The new ambulance will be delivered pretty much at the end of either next week or the following week, somewhere towards the end of the month, but it is coming. They did ask me to check on who fixes or who takes care of the Opticon, the thing that changes the lights when they have an emergency. They said there's a number of them in town that are not working.
That's terrible. They should contact me with what ones are not working, and have they checked their own equipment.
They said one of them is backwards. The wind blew it. I think the one on the highway, going across the highway by the boulevard. Contact Dave. Okay. The hoedown is this Saturday from 11 to 5. And there's a couple of things that I just wanted to mention in closed session.
Okay.
That's it. Parks and Rec didn't meet because of the 9/11 ceremony that took place out front. And we didn't want to conflict with that.
And the 9/11 ceremony was very, very well attended, and it was very moving, and it was very nice this year, so we want to keep that tradition going. All right, and then I just wanted to highlight, I know, Dave, you said you had noted the dates of upcoming events, but you didn't actually mention them, so I'm going to just read through them. Dave just took care of the hoedown. I want to remind everybody that there's a Household Hazardous Waste Day at Peavy Park this year. It'll be Saturday, October 28th from 9 to 2. We're going to be hosting a Shred Day again at Town Hall. That's on Saturday, November 4th, and that's from 9 to 1. And we already have the Christmas tree lighting on our schedule. Wow. That's Sunday, November 26th at the Senior House. So those are the ones that were on Dave's calendar. The couple of things I just wanted to, and before I forget to ask you, Dave, there was a couple of emails that I forwarded to you probably last week. Maybe you can just kind of give me an update on some of them. One of them was the traffic on one of the streets that we discussed. Another one was a sewer, about hooking up to the sewers. That was another one we had to address, and another one was about pension or something.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that but I think I sent you a reminder on them. And then, what else do I have? I'd just like to mention the library edition. Everybody probably sees when you drive by the library that work has begun. That's the expansion on the children's area. There's a nice addition going on at the library, and that was done with donated money by someone who had passed. It was Virginia Ford had donated money for that expansion. So her daughter came into the library the other day. She was very pleased to see that the work has begun there. So the contractor said the foundation and the framing would take about 4 weeks. So they're on their way. I don't think there's been any issues. What else? And I have a flood committee meeting this Thursday at 7:30. Right, Louise? That's this Thursday, right? Okay. And what else do we have? Other than that, I really don't have much either. So, with that being said, we will move on to public comment, okay? Louise, if you'd like, anyone else that would like to address the council, just wait to be recognized. We'll start with you, Louise.
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road, member of the Flood Advisory Committee. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor. I thought we had said that Pompton Lake's appeal was knocked down.
The Pompton Lakes appeal.
That's Passaic County?
Yes. And
yes, it was knocked down.
I believe so.
Okay, because I thought that's...
I knew I heard it either from
at one of our meetings.
Or Wayne. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention was, and this was a concern of mine from last year at the hoedown, I don't think it's the proper place or time for people to find out that they're in a flood area. They're on a family outing. Last year we had the maps, and I was against it, if you remember, and I said it's not the place for people to find out that, I mean, that's devastating. They're on a family outing. I don't, there must be other things that we could possibly do.
Yeah, I don't
put out on the table. Well, last year we had the maps, and, to my knowledge, there wasn't any problem, but there could have been. I just don't think it's right for somebody to find out
we'll discuss
under those
that on
circumstances.
Thursday. I don't even know that the flood committee is planning on.
I know. I have the banner, though.
Okay.
And thank you for mentioning it. It's a Christmas tree lighting. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else? Frank?
Frank Spiteri, 35 West Franklin Avenue, also the co-chair for Open Space. This is probably going to go over like a lead balloon, but with the advent of all these houses being added onto the new flood map, if it's ever proposed and agreed upon, next budget time, I think we ought to think about putting back the 0.5% that we dropped off for the open space so that we can accumulate some funds in the event that we need it. Like we did for the last, hopefully we won't have another Irene.
All right, point well taken.
But I think that's something you guys ought to think about. It's only 0.5%.
Right. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Sure. Come on up, Louise, hurry up.
Something else I just thought of. If 214 houses are added to the flood area, that devalues their homes, which is also going to lower the tax rate. 214.
I know.
Actually increased.
It's 241, I think.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else?
29.
All right. All right, next we have some minutes to approve. I see we go all the way back to 2014.
I know, I had to take a second take.
So I don't know if you had a chance to read through them all. We had minutes from August 12th of 2014, the 26th of 2014.
Not everybody can vote on them either.
The September, right, so.
Which ones can we vote on, which can we not vote on?
Well,
the 14 we're good on.
Okay, so we'll start with that one.
I recused myself.
Can I-
Melissa was
go ahead.
absent for one of them.
Councilman Hurd has to abstain on all of the 2014 ones plus July 25th, 2017, and Mayor Florence Lynch has to abstain on October 26th, 2014.
Right.
Okay, so that leaves it up to
you and I.
Kathy. Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes from all those.
I'll second.
All those.
Were you?
did everyone read them, at least?
I read them. I read them.
I read the 17.
Yeah, I'm on all of them.
You're good on 14?
Yeah, but I didn't get 7. We have one from 2017?
The minutes from 2000 were distributed with the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good.
Okay, so we need a vote?
All right, so we need a motion, a second.
Well, then
I made a
have,
motion.
and they have to just abstain from the ones that Carol said.
Go ahead.
Right, I made a motion to approve all of them.
And Jason, and he seconded it.
Okay, so,
I can add in where people are abstaining,
Yeah.
as long as everybody's...
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and I abstain from August 26, 2014.
And I abstained from all the 14s and July 25th, 17. Otherwise, it's fine.
Wow.
Are we almost done, Carol?
And as, yeah, you're close to being done, right?
Not close enough.
Okay.
How many more do you think we have?
For 2014?
You have the rest of 2014?
We're doing an order, so there's 3 more months, but then I'm not sure if the budget meetings and the little ones were done.
Okay.
I'm determined.
We're getting there.
And
Getting there.
yeah, as we're finishing them, are you bothering to post them at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're there.
Okay. Very good. All right, next on the agenda is closed session, and we do have a couple items. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go in the closed.
All right, and a second? All right. All